up there, play.
Say
Does that
again?
still apply?
Yeah. No, I'm living by those words 100%. Of course.
I mean, you literally will die on the court, do you think?
I mean, I hope not, but if it comes to that to win, I guess.
Sacrifice is a loaded word. I mean, you have to make sacrifices every day in your life. If you have the ambition to reach your fullest potential in anything, you're gonna have to have things that you inevitably give up. But to be honest, if they feel like sacrifices, you're probably not doing the thing that you were meant to do. Basketball was the thing for me, so it didn't feel like I was sacrificing a normal life. From the perspective of the person that's actually living it, it's not a sacrifice at all. You're just doing what you want to do. And if you don't have that feeling, that sensation, then you're in the wrong field.
I'm here to put my life on the line, and June 7th, I'm not coming to just put on a show for the fans. You know, I'm coming to die if I got to. So, you know, I don't know what this is to do, but I'm willing to take it that far. I'm really coming to die in that ring, bro. You know what I mean? So if you ain't ready to die, you know what I mean, I don't want to hear all that talking and shit, all that playing and jokes. And I'm not playing. I came alone, and I'm willing to leave everything in that ring, and that's what I'm gonna do.
There's a choice that we have to make as people, as individuals. If you want to be great at something, there's a choice that you have to make. We all can be masters at our craft, but you have to make a choice. What I mean by that is the inherent sacrifices that come along with that. Family time, hanging out with your friends, being a great friend, right? Being a great son, nephew, whatever the case may be. There's sacrifices that come along with making that decision. I knew that I was not going to be stopped. You know, so at the age of 18, this was my life, right? So you can't possibly become better than me because you're not spending the time on it that I do. Even if you want to spend the time on it, you can't because you have other things. You have other responsibilities that are taking you away from it. So I already won.
Don't you realize that in a race, everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that'll fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. So I run with purpose in every step. I'm not just shadow boxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to people, to others, I myself might be disqualified. That's Paul in 1 Corinthians 9:24 through 27. I love it, man, because I'm an athlete. I'm a sports junkie, if you will. When you look at the Kobe Bryants of the world, when you look at the MJs, the LeBrons, the Tiger Woods, the Serena Williams, I can go on and on, the Floyd Mayweathers. When you look at the top of the top, and when you just look at winners, they all share one trait in common, and that's the ability and the willingness to sacrifice whatever it takes to obtain the prize that they're trying to attain. And Paul uses this as an analogy. He says, just like the athlete who willingly disciplines himself, who willingly practices self-control and diligence, and who has laser focus on his end goal, whatever that goal might be, whatever championship that is. Maybe it's a Super Bowl, maybe it's, you know, winning the NBA Finals, maybe it's winning that relay or whatever. They practice self-control, discipline, and they are under, you know, a strict amount of restrictions that they place on themselves, like I said, to attain what it is that they're seeking to attain. Paul says, as a believer, you and me should have that same level of focus. We should have that same willingness to die, that willingness to sacrifice whatever it takes, because we're actually striving to attain something far greater than what these athletes are striving to attain. He says they're doing it for something that's going to fade away, right? I think about Kobe Bryant, right? He's one of my favorite. He's like the poster boy for sacrifice and discipline as an athlete. Kobe Bryant, man, he won 5 championships, 5. He three-peated once with Shaq, and then he repeated with Paul Gasol and the rest of the crew. And he worked extremely hard. He was drafted out of high school. You know what I'm saying? He went down to be one of the best ever. And he did it all, you know, everything he did, putting his body under duress. Everything was for that championship. But guess what? After he passed away, a couple years went by, his mother and father, they were on hard times. And guess what they did? They sold one of his championship rings. One of those rings that he worked extremely hard to get. What he disciplined himself for, what he gave up, relationships and what people would say a normal life for, that championship ring. When his parents needed money after his demise, his untimely demise, they sold his ring. Why am I bringing that up? Am I trying to disparage them? Absolutely not. Do what you have to do. They know what they had to do to, they didn't have money, unfortunately. I'm trying to zero in on this. What Paul says is true. They do it for something that's going to fade away. He worked his whole life to obtain this championship ring, and after his death, his parents auctioned it off to receive money. You and I are striving for something far greater than a championship ring, an earthly ring. We're striving for something far greater than a Super Bowl championship. We want to hear that, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." That's our finish line. That's our Super Bowl, is entering the kingdom of God and hearing him say, "Come, inherit the kingdom that was prepared for you." Right? Like he says in Matthew 25, inherit the kingdom that was prepared for you before the foundations of the world. I can't even imagine. No eye has seen, no ear has heard. No mind has imagined what God has in store for his kids, for you and I. My question is, just like Paul though, are you running to win or are you just running? Because there's a difference. There's a difference. There are people who compete on all levels, right? And then you have people who are competing to win, right? And winners, like I said, what they share in common is they have the willingness to discipline themselves. They have a willingness to say, you know what? I can eat that if I want it, but not if I want to win. So I'm going to discipline myself in my diet. I can technically drink that beer or smoke that weed or cigarette, whatever. I can do that just like everybody else. But I'm not going to do either one of them. I think about Terrence Crawford, one of the best pound-for-pound boxers in the world. He says, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do none of that. I watch my diet, right? I stay in tip-top shape. Why? Because he wants to be regarded as one of the best boxers of all time. There's a difference between those competing to win at the highest levels and those just competing, just happy to be there. Paul says, don't just be happy to be here in your Christian life. Don't just live your Christian life. Oh, I got the ticket to heaven. Now I'm just going to kind of chill. I'm not going to go serve God and go hard in my community. I'm not going to go share the gospel with these youngsters who I know that's acting a fool and they need to know about Christ. I'm not going to go hard. I'm not going to go overboard with this Christian thing. I'm just going to kind of cruise through and be kind of content with just living an average life. He says, no, run to win. In the context of this passage, he was talking to the Corinthians, right? The Corinthians, back in those times, in that city that they lived in, they would offer meat to idol gods, right? They would offer food to these idol gods and then go and sell the food in the market. And, these Corinthians that came to Christ, they understood that technically they had the freedom to eat this meat because these idols were nothing. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. They had the freedom to eat anything they chose, but they were using their freedom in an unloving way because while they had that conviction, there were other believers who thought, man, this is not right. We shouldn't be eating this meat. And so Paul is saying, although you have the freedom to, how about you set aside certain privileges and freedoms as you look at your brother and take, regard for him, right? Love, he was trying to get them to understand, love sometimes, and the greater goal sometimes causes us to push aside, to set aside freedoms in pursuit of what we're actually trying to pursue. And so Paul says, look, I want to win people to Christ. That's my championship. And sometimes it's going to cause me to push aside or set aside different privileges, right? Pastors are supposed to earn money, for their work. That's biblical. Paul says, y'all can keep that because I don't want that to get in the way of my ultimate goal, my championship of winning you to Christ. He could have gotten married. Paul says, I'm going to take this time. I'm gonna elect to set that aside so I can just focus on winning people to Christ. He chose to do that, and he wanted them to see his life, his willingness to sacrifice, and he wanted them to learn from that. So they had the freedom to eat from any market, even if it was sold to idols or not. But Paul was saying, is your freedom taking love into consideration? Run to win. What is your What is your championship? If your goal is to win as many people, to Christ as possible, you'll set those freedoms aside in order to do that. Just like the athlete sets aside certain privileges in order to chase his goal. That's the entire point of 1 Corinthians 9. And I want to ask you, are you running to win? Are you going hard? Are you doing any and everything to maximize your life for Christ and for the glory of God? If not, you're falling short. That's okay. Acknowledge that and start doing it today. Start doing it today. You can start right this moment. Start maximizing everything in your hands for the glory of God. I just wrote a book called 7 Ways to Be a Max Out Man. Go pick that up. Comment down below and I can link you to that product right now. And check it out, man. It's your boy Rain. If you like what you heard, subscribe. I'm going.